Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're going to be talking about the spell Sequester. All right. I got nothing. I don't really understand. I read through the description a few times. I read your review. I still don't really know what this does.
Okay.
Let's start there.
Great. Sequester, for a 7th level spell slot, you touch a thing, and until dispelled, the thing is invisible, cannot be targeted by divination magic. It has to be a willing thing, so you can't have like a random creature be like, ha, you're invisible forever now, and stuck in an immortal prison or whatever. You touch a thing, an object or a willing creature, it becomes invisible, can't be targeted by divination spells or perceived through any kind of scrying sense of divination spells. This gets around true sight, this gets around seeing invisibility, this gets around the majority of divination effects, no longer can perceive this. If the thing is a creature, it falls into a suspended animation state, it doesn't grow old, it just sits there forever. You can then set a condition for the spell to end early. The condition can be anything you choose, but it has to be viable or visible within a mile of the target. So, for example, after 1,000 years or when the Tarrasque wakes are examples of the condition. Occur or be visible within a mile of the target. The spell then also ends if the thing takes any damage. So if you stab the invisible suspended creature, the spell ends.
What if the caster dies?
Sorry, what?
What if the person who casted the spell dies?
Nope. It's until dispelled. That's the duration on it.
That sucks. For if the caster, if we're talking about after 1,000 years, if that's going to happen, what if? Oh well.
Elves?
Think about this. Yeah.
Things will live longer than 1,000 years in D&D, but at the same time, and like this can go on for millennia, hypothetically. What Sequester is a DM tool that they made into a spell, and in doing so, killed an interesting idea. That's my opinion on it. I would go as far to say this is miserable. The vast majority of time it is used, because whenever
is it used?
No,
because
it's miserable.
I don't think anything's ruined because I don't think anybody uses this.
That's fair. It's an interior play that no one really plays at, and no one's taking the spell in their wizards or anything. This is kind of the use case for a player with the spell, and it's best when this spell is at its most acceptable is whenever there's an evil MacGuffin that the villain is trying to retrieve from the players, and they go, I take the MacGuffin, I sequester it, and I yeet it into space. And then you have an invisible thing that's going into space that's intangible, unobservable, and the condition that it is revealed is like some absurd, literally never can occur condition, like the universe explodes, for example. Something that is just so indeterminate that it will never realistically occur, right? This is we need to hide this person for 40 or 50 years or whatever it is. We need to get this person safe. This is like another one of those, this is the best possible use cases of it. Let's go stick them in a random mountain range that we determine entirely systematically randomly, sequester them, and we'll come pick them up later. All of those situations are going to be taking away interesting elements and exciting moments for a story the majority of the time. There'll be some instances where there'll be some extra tension added because, the party gets captured and they're being tortured and someone lets loose how the sequester ends on the random target in the middle of the thing. That's a very narrative moment or a thing to occur. The vast majority of tables are going to find out clever ways where it's like, there's no reasonable way that they will ever be able to do this because my character is just never going to willingly submit to this or whatever. If it is a specific creature that you're trying to protect, that's like the one use where you're like, okay, the evil villain might capture the party and then dominate the party, then have them go fulfill the condition or whatever. And even then it feels like Sequester didn't really do anything, but it gave you at least some narrative and interesting pool. But all of that is when Sequester is at its best and should just be as a DM tool. This should be a thing in a toolbox you have where the DM could say, this has been in, the giant awakens after a millennia because you awoken it is a narrative beat. It's not a spell. And that is what Sequester is trying to facilitate, is trying to make it a spell when it has no business being it, and will often lead to things being like, adversarial DM approaches and sees, you have that cool sword that I regret giving you. The DM the villain yoinks it away and sequesters it in a random ocean that you'll never be able to touch again. And that just feels like garbage. The most use case for this is I take away a thing and hide it forever, and there's no reasonable way to find it. it beats all the things that are supposed to find it. So it's just a binary. Do you have this? Then that cannot be found. And I find that being wildly frustrating. And I think the majority of the time when people will use this will be on a DM side, and it will lead to feels bad. It will lead to frustrations. I don't think this needs to exist in that fashion.
All right, I got one.
Sure.
You sequester, I don't know, just something like some random key or a special coin or something.
Mhm.
This will appear when the person who killed the count enters the room, and use that to solve mysteries.
Sure. I guess. Then you were in another really awkward situation, right? Where we have to determine, is Sequester omnipotent? Does it know? I'm sorry, not omnipotent, omniscient. Does it know everything? Because you have these weird moments where you'll go, this could just be a divining tool to learn whatever information you want. Conceivably.
Yeah, all right, that was my contribution.
Sure. That's something I hadn't considered. But honestly, not a great thing, in my opinion. Just having a tool that you have to go with your DM and be like, does Sequester just let me ask whatever question I want? Just be like, turn visible if X. Like turn visible whenever I touch the villain. I discover the secret of the mystery, and then you just circumnavigate the whole of the mystery. You circumnavigate the whole of a problem. Or that's your play where like mysteries aren't often happening anyway. That's something I didn't really touch on in True Sight, where it's like once you give these tiers, it's really hard to run the shape changer mystery. It's really hard to run there's secrets here, because of so many tools are just either you can examine it secretively or you can't examine it secretively, or it solves the mystery in its entirety. Like there's just so many effects that end up making it impossible to run this kind of thing at higher tiers.
This is an outside of the box way of using something to solve the mystery. So like, for viewers of this channel, okay, you get, you can impress your DM.
That's true. You'll bust this out once and the DM will be like, that was cool. You did a great job. You absolutely solved the mystery. That was a neat way to use the spell. Great contribution. That is absolutely a thing that this could be used for sure. I think that is the only, you've made the case that I think is the only real redeeming quality of this.
I'm going to try again.
Okay, fire away.
Maybe we're looking at the scope too big.
Sure.
If you take it down a notch and I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head, but maybe I don't know. You're not sure when this person's coming to town, so you have to deliver a message, but I don't know. You don't want to spend money for an inn. I don't know. So you. All right.
We're gonna think really clearly about what we're using a 7th level spell slot here, Bob.
All right. I mean, that's not a great example, but something in that vein.
There are other effects in the game that do that, though, right?
This isn't plugged in. I've been wearing this thing all night.
Delightful. This effect isn't good. Like, you're spending way too much if that's the effect you want. Also, notably, this is something I haven't touched on yet. This costs money to use. Do you want to guess how much?
So the inn will be cheaper. Sure. That was just pulled out of my head.
Sure.
I'm sure there are similar kind of uses. All right. You're starving. You're in the desert.
You're starving the desert with 7th level spell slots and 5,000 gold available. Continue.
Yes. And yeah.
You have access to teleport. Continue.
No, you don't.
You're a wizard. All right, continue.
For whatever reason, you do not.
Sure.
But yeah, you're waiting for an edible beast to wander by, so you can murder and devour it.
I have no idea where this is going.
No, that was it. It's, you're starving, so you want to put yourself and your party in a temporary stasis until some food walks by.
So, okay, so you're advocating for spending however much gold in the party, and then yourself.
I'm trying to think of ways to make this useful.
Sure, that's fair. You've gotten one so far. I'm not sold that the beast tracking method is it, but maybe you're in this specific hyper niche Dune planet kind of situation where that matters. Maybe gold's no longer a valid resource. The apocalypse has happened. Sure. Maybe you just suspend yourself and a bunch of friends for 2,000 years and play a different game. Like, that's something you could conceivably do, as long as you're the last one to do it. Just be like, hey, who wants to go and come underneath the ocean for 2,000 years and then come out and see what happens?
There's another one.
That is,
No,
if you're doing that, the DM is helping you do that.
Yeah. You say, all right, everybody, NPC, we're gonna go time travel into the future. You put him under. You didn't like him anyway. Now he's out of the picture.
So you're saying this is a 7th level murder for someone that trusts you?
It's not a murder. He can come around later. I mean,
sure. I think that while on the spot in the middle of recording, you're not going to necessarily come up with the best ideas of all time. I'm not faulting you for not coming up with cool ways to use this. I just do think that the best use cases for this often will be, I contradict whatever it is you're trying to do in a way that you can interact with. That is interesting. Suitor. Or what'd you say?
Rival suitor. You want this damsel's hand in marriage. But, all right. So get him out of the picture. Say, all right, I'm probably going to live. Let's be safe. He can come back after 200 years.
So you have to, I mean, that does sound like a really fun little plot arc of how do you convince this guy to let you willingly sequester them for like several hundred years whenever they're competing for the hand in marriage.
You don't have to state the parameters before you all you need to do is get them to be willing, right?
Yes, you'd be willing to have you cast Sequester on them. So like convince them death is imminent, you're gonna invisibly hide them in a corner or whatever.
Yeah, it's like cryogenically freezing them.
Sure. I think that's a fun idea. I don't think that you need a 7th level spell slot to do that kind of thing. I think you can definitely find other ways that are creative and interesting and fun with spell slots 6th level or lower, probably starting at 1st if we're going to be honest, something like Charm Person, that's going to facilitate a similar experience. You can be like, oh, actually, you have to leave town right now because your dear sweet aunt off in the boonies is dying, and then you quickly marry the damsel and you live happily ever after and have an vengeful suitor after you, which is probably the tier of play that you would want to be doing that in, honestly.
On the flip side, I think spending a little bit more time and imagination, you can think of other uses for this spell better than what I've come up with.
Sure. I don't think the majority of the time this is going to come up at the table, and when it does come up at the table, people are going to oftentimes be like, what? I don't understand. I have true sight on. Why didn't I see that? That's what's often going to happen. What's often going to happen is you're going to have the situation where you're told there's a MacGuffin and you go, oh, I have a spell for that. And then you use it and nothing happens. And you're like, what the hell? Why doesn't my stuff work? And that isn't a good feeling. And if that's the use case of a Sequester, don't love that. And I think that's where it's most likely to occur. If you are the kind of player like Bob who wants to figure out how to use the dumbest possible 7th level, which, listen, I respect wholeheartedly and would love to play with you, Bob, because that is the exact kind of players I love DMing for. And I love being this is a really dumb way to use something that's obviously like really wonky and weird. This is a cool creative solution with an out of the box thinking kind of deal. Then great, try it out for that. This has never belonged in anyone's character sheet though. This isn't worth the 5,000 gold you're spending. Because remember, you are spending 5,000 gold to do this. So you have to be in a very specific table with a very specific series of things happening for you to even be able to be like, yeah, I can definitely blow $5,000 on this neat idea that I think is funny. If you're in that exact circumstances, you can probably find other cooler spells to do than this. But if this is really speaking to you, go for it. This is a 1 out of 5. This is frustrating. This is pointless on most players. This will be often frustrating from a DM perspective. This should just be some kind of concept in the DMG for running narrative, like awakening moments where you find the magical sword awakens when someone of pure of heart arrives, or the evil fire giant awakens from the deep slumber whenever people encroach on his tomb or whatever.
I'm going to give it a 3, just for what I came up with during this video. Not that,
but for the belief that there is something out there.
That's right.
Sure. I don't believe it, but sure.
All right, listeners, there's your challenge. I want to see this in the comment. Vindicate me.
I love hearing when I'm wrong. Hit me with it. Show me all those comments being like, Sam's an idiot. This is actually how you use the spell.
No, not that. Just or that and that.
And that.
No, I want to hear more creative uses.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Oh, wait.
Anytime.
Sequester. This was Sequester. Thank you,
Sequester.
Sam, and thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of The Spell, and other fun things.